The winter's gone, the frost has faded, skies are turning blue. Chevy's humming, Nasty's laughing, got the whole wild crew. Stories spinning, wheels are grinning, summer's on the line. Canadian hearts, bold and beating, chasing down shine. Playoff nights and morning light, the Oilers on our mind. Stanley's dreams and bitter schemes, redemption hard to find. We're swapping tales of heartbreak, of glory and regret, but every loss and every win we'll never will forget. Raise up your glass, let's toast to the game, to the laughter, the legends, the joy and the pain. From hockey to football, our spirits ignite. With Chevy and Nasty, we ride through the night. The grudge match is coming, the tension's in the air. Will Connors lift the trophy? Will the Oilers break the curse there? But as the ice melts into grass, our cheers begin anew. Our Gray's calling, football falling, we're loyal through and through. Raise up, we glass, let toast to the game, to the laughter, the legends, the joy and the pain. From hockey to football, our spirits ignite. The Chevy and Nasty, we ride through the night. It's more than the weight, it's the stories we share, of victories and losses, of hope and despair. We're bound by the moments, the highs and the lows, where camaraderie flows and the summer wind blows. Raise up your gas, let toast to the name, to the laughter, the legend, the joy on the hand. From hockey to football, our spirits ignite. With Chevy and Nasty, we ride through the night. As summer approaches and winter departs, but celebrate sports with our passionate hearts. Together we'll ride wherever we go, in this land of great stories, let the good times roll.
And Nasty. Host Randy Chevrier and Sheldon Napastia guide you through great stories that spark great conversations. Two really big guys talking a big game. The boys are locked in and ready to go. Welcome to the ride.
All right, Trey, bring it in with a little country for you all here on this fine Tuesday night. And welcome, everybody. Welcome back to the ride. It's Chevy Nasty, episode 78. Oh, it's me, Nasty on your right, Chevy on your left. Chevy, welcome to another episode.
Yeah, thanks for being here. Thanks for all of us for showing up. Thanks for you showing up, and everyone that I see the comments coming in. I think we got a great show tonight. It's a really neat point in the year, episode 78. I don't think it's the 78th episode of the year, but it's our 78th episode. But playoff Stanley Cup championship starts tomorrow. That's a big deal. We're going to talk about that. But also the CFL season starts this weekend. So something is about to end and something new is about to begin. And two things that I'm really excited for. So I think there's lots to talk about today and a lot of fun stuff. What about you? Do you have a good week? You ready for the show? What do you think?
Yeah, it's been a weird week. You're coming off that adrenaline high last week of watching the Panthers take care of the Canes, Oilers looking awesome against Dallas, and you're just ready to go. So I'm not sure how I felt about those 5 days off. From a player's perspective, maybe it's exactly what they need, but maybe we'll talk about that in a bit. But that's been my week. I've been trying to catch up on all the stuff that I've been putting off watching hockey every night of the week for the last 3 weeks. So that's where my week's at.
Well, let's kick it off in style. Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Let's just kick it off. Let's see where we go. Try and get our energy levels up. I mean, hey, I told you guys right before we went on, I'm like tired.
Yeah.
I spent all night working on some stuff for the show. I spent all week working on some stuff for the show, plus working, plus all the stuff for the kids. I'm like, I'm toast. But the show generally ignites my energy levels. So let's hit it, Trey. It's episode 78. We talked about it, our 78th consecutive episode, and we've got two real famous NFL football players. In fact, I think one is famous and one is infamous. Sheldon, Bruce Smith, growing up between Bruce Smith and Reggie White, two of the greatest defensive linemen of that era. I would believe it's late 70s into 80s, almost 90s. What are your thoughts on Bruce Smith?
80s and 90s. Bruce Smith was an absolute legend. I think he played almost his entire career as a Buffalo Bill, the meaningful part of it anyway. That guy was an absolute stud. Now, myself, that was always a battle, wasn't it? As a defensive lineman growing up, you know, between me, I'd throw Bobby Jurison into the mix because I didn't know better than to compare CFL to NFL guys. But the big battle was always Bruce Smith versus Reggie White. Bruce Smith was a little bit of a shorter guy with that awesome rip, and then he could club his way out of it. Reggie White could just manhandle guys. But I think Bruce Smith actually still holds the lead for the sack title. So there's only one Bruce Smith, and that guy was absolutely a hero growing up.
And he played in the 4 in a row, right? The Bills lost. Yeah, he played in the 4 in a row. Yeah. You know what's crazy that, you know, looking him up. I mean, I used to love watching the Bills, and he was always good. I remember I got into NFL a little bit later in his career, and I remember there was Bruce Smith and Bryce Pop. I don't know why I always remember those guys, and they were always a good tandem when I did watch the Bills. I think he even played with Doug Flutie when Doug Flutie was with Buffalo, which is crazy. But if you look, he played 19 years as a defensive lineman in the NFL when the NFL basically had no rules about contact and head contact and chop blocks and clip blocks and like the most dirtiest, nasty stuff that could like end your career in a moment's notice. And the fact that, you know, modern medicine and orthopedic medicine was nowhere near where it is today. Like,
well, they didn't know how to take care of the knees. Like the whole slogan in the 80s was reduce the roster. Yeah. Right. And they went out there and they taught you to, when on a chop block, was to grab the ankle and roll. Because if you can get this guy out of the game or get him hobbling, you got a better chance to win. And that's the stuff that went down. And you're right. The trainers did not have near the tools at their disposal that they have today in terms of taking care of torn up meniscus and MCLs and ACLs and all that stuff. So yeah, it's a miracle that he played as much as he did at a high level for as many years. 19 years. I didn't know. I knew he was a longtime vet. I didn't know he got 19 years.
Yeah. So 200 sacks, which is super impressive, right? Like that's a huge number, but I think it's the 19 years because if you go on a pace of about, 12 sacks a year, you're going to hit 200 sacks in 19 years. But that 19 years, I think is the big number for me. But yeah, great player, Hall of Famer, of course. But then we look to the right there and we got one of the most infamous Dallas Cowboys of all time. I mean, he was a good player, right? But known for a couple of gaffes, and that's Leon Lett. Not just gaffes on the field, but I think off the field too. Do you remember Leon, Sheldon?
Oh, how can you forget him? The Super Bowl. I don't even remember who they're playing, but the infamous running with a loaf of bread in his hands into the end zone and having it stripped at the 1 yard line. I mean, for me, I mean, I was at Iowa State. That was early 90s, I believe, early to mid 90s. And that was, talk about a career defining move. He was a great defensive lineman, but he always had that as an asterisk. You could never take the guy seriously after that. Did you end up playing with him when you were with the Cowboys?
No, he wasn't around. I just remember, I remember the gaffes, when he kind of messed up, what is it, in the Super Bowl where he kind of, his celebration and fumbled, cost him a touchdown. I think it was Don Beebe that knocked it out of his hands or something and then picked it up. But yeah, I just remember there was a headline once where he was busted with a van full of dope, but the whole van was lined with it. I think that was a headline. So yeah, he definitely had some on-field and off-field stuff. I'm not sure what he does now. But I know Trey does have video pulled up of Leon Lett, some of his highlights or lowlights, so to speak. So let's have a look at this.
Miami's trying to go in and kick a field goal with less than 15 seconds, I believe, left in the game. And if they make it, game's over. If they miss it, we win. We blocked the field goal.
It's a 41-yarder. It's a first down kick.
Oh, yeah.
It's blocked and rolling around at the 10-yard line.
You can see the ball spinning around on the white snow. And everybody's saying, get away, Peter, meaning stay away from the ball, stay away from the ball. And all of a sudden you see one white jersey with a star on it come running out of nowhere.
Leon Lett. Oh, my goodness gracious.
Oh.
I think they get another shot.
This is Miami's ball.
Miami recovers the ball at the 1-yard line, so they get another shot. This time, field goal good. We lose the game.
Oh, that's horrible.
Yeah, he had a couple like that. I think there was one in the Super Bowl as well. I'm not sure if Trey has that one as well. I'll give him a second just to pipe up. He said he might have had a couple of them, but yeah, that's pretty bad. When you know, in the NFL, that's one thing. When you block a kick or you know, you're going to down a punt or you're going to let a punt roll, Peter is the code for don't touch it. But let's look at this one here. I believe looks like it's against the Bills. There's the fumble.
Yeah, this is the Super Bowl.
He picks it up and now he's celebrating. And Don Beebe comes from the back, pops it out, and it was a touchback. Yeah.
You know, he looked good for the first 40 yards, though, didn't he?
Yeah.
Got that little burst of speed. I don't know what it is with some guys that they can't get out of their own way. Finish the play. Understand the situation you're in. It's not like he was an enthusiastic rookie. Like, I never met the guy. I don't know if he's just one of those over-the-top guys in the room that that if you had to bet who was going to screw up a chance for a touchdown in the Super Bowl, it would be him. But you know, I mean, that's a couple of real serious lapses in judgment.
We've all played with a couple of guys that have it everywhere except upstairs. And some guys just are prone to boneheaded plays, and we've seen that. We've played with some guys. So obviously, when you're playing for the Dallas Cowboys in the Super Bowl and some of the biggest stages in the world, you know, that's going to show even more. But you know, talking about great Buffalo Bills, you have to give a nod to Don Beebe, one of the greatest Buffalo Bills. You know, Hall of Fame special teamer, receiver, just that guy you could get behind. I mean, everything he did 100 miles an hour, and he's probably smaller and slower than everyone else, but he did what he had to do to help the Bills, and he did it in that play. But let's move on, Sheldon, because we got lots to talk about. If we want to get to the hockey talk, we got to get through the poem first. So, Trey, we are going to get right into this. If you can hit it with the 300-pound poetry, and I think I'm starting, right, Sheldon?
You can start while I find
All
it.
right.
And now, 300-pound poetry with Chevy and Nasty.
With the winter behind us and the summer almost here, we are Chevy and Nasty. Through this ride, we will steer.
It's a paradox of sorts, but Canadian sports fans win. As the NHL playoffs wrap up, the CFL season is set to begin.
If you appreciate a good grudge match or a great redemption story, we believe this year's Stanley Cup Final will live up to that glory.
Will Connor's trophy touch make things better or worse? Maybe it'll power the Oilers past the great Canadian Cup curse.
Maybe. And as Lord Stanley sets his eyes on a long summer rest, we get excited for Lord Harold's return, whose football is the best.
Lots to talk about on the ride with Nasty and Chevy. This is your 300-pound poetry, but you know, we're not actually that heavy.
We're not. Great timing on the poem too.
Honesty,
I think we
honesty check. You stepped on the scale this week. What are you weighing right now?
I'm I float between 275 and 285 week to week. I think I'm about 275. Yeah. I had a pretty good week of eating a couple of weekends ago. But yeah, 275. And today I went to this Cluck and Cleaver way down south.
Oh, yeah.
I had a couple of presentations, and I had their real hot chicken sandwich. Ooh, Sheldon, you got to hit that one. So I'm probably hitting around I'm about 280 right now, is what I'm saying.
You know, I like me a hot chicken sandwich though. I mean, I know the whole thing with like Popeyes versus Mary Brown's versus, you name some of the other franchises in the States, but I really like was it the crispy deep fried breaded? Yeah,
with the pickles and the blue cheese and the buffalo sauce. So yeah, for sure 280 right now, because then I came home at 9:00 at night after full days of work from 5 a.m. till I got home at 9, and I had a huge plate of spaghetti. So we're pushing, we're pushing it tonight, but that's okay. We're 300-pound poets, and we got to always kind of get within that threshold. But we alluded to the poem. We're trying to wrap up the last series. It's that window, right? The window that we have between the end of the last series and then the beginning of our show. We get almost a week off before the series starts, but we alluded to it in the poem, Sheldon. Connor McDavid went right up and super casually picked up the trophy for the Western Conference champs. Did that surprise you when you saw that?
I think it surprised me, but did I think it matter? No. In fact, one of the things last year, I just rewatched the Face-Off series again the last couple of days, the last 2 episodes, right, to get ready for the Cup. And hearing Matthew Tkachuk talk about how loose and relaxed they were going into that, that's what the Oilers need to be. You guys are good enough. Don't worry about all these superstitions. Don't let this get in your head. Yeah, it got in the fans' heads. So you see some of the reactions, and the fans didn't like it. But at the end of the day, maybe it got into into Florida's heads too. I mean, but that said, it is just the Cup. It's just a touch. I know you're not supposed to do that. That's been around for probably the last 20, 25 years. I wouldn't have done it 25 years ago, but he touched it. They skipped it last year and lost.
Well, and that's the thing, right? Like, there's so much superstition around that. When we won the Grey Cup in 2014, I remember Juwan Simpson grabbing the Western Conference championship and just running around the field, and we celebrated. We all touched it. I have pictures with my kids in the locker room here at McMahon with it. But I do remember there were some years where we didn't touch it. So you know what? I think he was pretty casual about it too. He wasn't like, "Oh crap, I touched it," right? He's like, "Well, I didn't touch it last year, so I figured I'm going to touch it this year, and we'll see what happens." So, good on him.
I will say this though. I will say this. One year during Fan Fest, when we were still with the Stamps, I can't remember if it was the year before you got there or the year that you got there. During Fan Fest, I did pose with a cup with another person, and I touched it. Okay. And I remember walking away from that feeling a little bit dirty, like, "Oh, dude, you shouldn't have touched it."
Like,
and looking back, I thought I had years left to earn it, but as it turns out, I had 3 more seasons, never got the cup. So maybe there is something to it, Chev. I don't know, but I'm fine with Connor changing it up. If it didn't work last year, change it up.
So are you saying? Oh, there it is.
Was it maybe to change the story? What was the main reason why you changed your mind?
Pretty obvious, I think. Don't touch it last year, don't win. Touch it this year, hopefully we win.
So it sounds like science to me.
Yep, sounds like science. Good way to break a superstition. So put a bow on that series. The only other thing that's notable about that series is, and I know it's not exactly the right flow of the show, but it was so, it stuck out so much how the Dallas Stars coach, Peter DeBoer, threw Jake Ottinger under the bus. Hey, we're not even there yet, Trey. We haven't even started. You're going too fast, Trey. Threw Jake Ottinger under the bus. He said, "Well, I'm not going to blame the guy." Yeah, I like, he mentioned that, what, they wanted to play with the lead. They didn't get it. 2 goals down early. He decided to make a change. And it takes courage to do that, right? It takes courage to be the coach and say, "You know what? I think I'm going to play a hunch." However, at the end of the game, he could have stopped with that and said, "Yeah, it didn't work." But he kind of mentioned, he said, "I'm not going to blame him. But, last year against the Oilers, he lost a bunch of games and we lost. And now we're already down." So it was kind of like he threw him under the bus. I guess the question is, this is their star goaltender. We're not talking about Skinner that was like up and down. And this is the star goaltender. They just signed him to a big extension. Do you see a world where those two coexist in the same locker room next year?
I think that DeBoer, right after the game, knew exactly what his odds were of coming back to this club again. It wasn't going to happen. But I still having a hard time wrapping my head around that. I think as a head coach, you have to justify some of the moves that you made. Was pulling Ottinger, in the first few minutes of the first period, a good idea and something that's defensible? No, it felt like an overreaction to me. I get you're trying to get your team sparked and get them going, but pulling your franchise player just seems like a no-win situation. In fact, Chevy, what he I'm going to quote him here. What he said, he did say we wanted to play with a lead. And he goes, I don't blame it all on Jake, but if you go back to last year's series, he's lost 6 of 7 games to Edmonton, and we gave up 2 goals on the first 2 shots. I like how we gave up 2 goals on the first 2 shots, but he lost 6 out of 7 games. That's what's sitting with me. Is the words that coaches choose to use. Listen, I tell you what, you've got to go. Your captains and your coaches from time to time need to call out players. But at times like this, there's no sense dragging a guy through the mud after you get eliminated from the playoffs. It was a team loss. And if he thinks Ottinger might not have been his best he's ever been, the best that we've ever seen him, but if you want to blame that series on Ottinger, you're watching a different series than I saw.
Well, and that's the thing. Like, he failed as a coach 2 years in a row to get them motivated enough to reach where Edmonton is. And he's putting it out on his goalie. I think he's doing a little bit of distancing. I think it's planting some seeds because he knows his days are numbered. You look at Edmonton for all those years. How many coaches have they been through before we got Knobloch to get them to the finals 2 years in a row, right? Like, they went through a lot of coaches.
A lot of experienced coaches.
But that's the thing. Players play, and a guy like Ottinger is still in his peak. You can find another coach to manage ice time and motivate players and manage expectations and not hurt egos. And that's what I think. Like, when you get to a situation like this where one of your star players gets called out, something's got to give. Look at Boston. What happened with Jeremy Swayman. Yeah. GM called him out at the beginning of the year. It went bad, and the whole organization suffered. I mean, Boston is a shadow of what they were just a year ago. And I think it all stems from that move. And then obviously firing their coach. So let's move on, because game 1 is tomorrow. Puck drop at 6 p.m. between the Florida Panthers and the Edmonton Oilers. Is this the matchup you dreamed of? Like, when we started talking about playoffs, getting into it, did we really think Edmonton Oilers, Florida Panthers rematch? Like, that's got to defy the odds to get back to where we are right now. Are you excited, and is this what you wanted to see?
Oh, absolutely exciting. And it is against the odds. I mean, I think it's out there. You can probably pull this up, just how rare it is to see rematches in back-to-back years in the NHL. But going back and watching that face-off series just got me excited again. Watching Hyman at the end of the game when Connor was in tears and everybody's just like, their faces just staring at their skates. He's like, guys, this might not help, but I promise you we will be back next year, right? And the determination, Kachuk shaking hands with Connor on the ice saying, we'll see you boys next year, right? And that's exactly what happened. I think clearly over the playoffs, there might have been some questions going into the playoffs. Was Florida healthy enough to win? Could the Oilers find their game? Because at times they look really bad this year, or very average at least.
Well, I mean, coming right out the gates, we thought they were done. 12 goals in 2 games against the Kings, down 2-0, no confidence in their goalie. And they got to put in Pickard, thinking, geez, like, what are we going to do? But a couple of moves turned them around, and the Oilers sure took the hard way to get here. But I mean, if you look at the series or the season, both these teams are so close, right? Both Oilers 48 wins, Panthers 47. They're super close. Like, everything is close. 101 points to 98. Head to head, Sheldon, Oilers lost twice, and both times by 1 goal, right? So everything is so darn close. The thing is, when I watched the game last year and I got on the bandwagon, they had some nice young players in Edmonton, and they lost a lot of them this offseason. Florida had a lot of nice veterans that they lost a few, but man, Florida added some talent with Brad Marchand. He is the proverbial playoff performer, and Seth Jones. For me, the additions that the Panthers made outweigh anything that the Oilers did. Like, they're better this year, in my opinion, than they were last year, and they won. The Oilers, I don't know if they're better. We got Hyman, that might be out. Evander Kane might be out. I think is Kachuk potentially out. it's like, can you call it? Like, who do you think is coming out on top, and how many games do you think it's going to go?
Well, what I think that this series has got all the markets to go long again. I mean, this one's it's got to be 6 or 7 games, right? I think the biggest challenge the Oilers are going to find here, and yeah, the Panthers have picked up a lot of nice players, but this is a different Oilers club than what you saw throughout much of the regular season. I mean, probably, and this is a huge loss for them. But when you take a look at a guy like Hyman, who is leading the leagues in playoff hits, Hyman, I mean, he's not afraid to be physical, but to go out there and to lead the way he has. In fact, the number one thing that concerns me between the two teams is not necessarily the level of skill that they have, but do the Oilers now have the level of grit to match up against Tkachuk and Bennett? Yeah, they're faster. They can outskate them, but they outskated them last year. They outshot them last year. But the way that the Panthers can get under your skin, bunch up around the neck, take away any shooting opportunities, that's my question. Do the Oilers, can they find the grit with the guys they have in the room? Can Corey Perry step up? Evander Kane? Guys are going to have to play tougher than they ever have before.
And that's the thing. If you're an Oilers fan, you hope this 5-game or 5-6 day break gave guys like Hyman maybe an opportunity to come back. I believe Evander Kane had hurt his knee in the last game. Hopefully he comes back healthy, because they need a healthy
He
Kane.
said he's healthy, but they all say they're healthy.
And then I don't know if, like, I'm reading here that maybe Florida Tkachuk might have a groin, but this is my issue. Oilers fans have been riding and dying with Skinner. Is it good Skinner? Is it bad Skinner? He's a streaky goalie. And on the other end, you got Bobrovsky, who's just been solid. However, last year in the playoffs, if I'm not mistaken, the Oilers chased him from the net. So I don't know. I don't know. I think it's so close. It's too hard to call. It looks like some of the odds makers give the slight edge to Edmonton. I would also say there's got to be an edge in terms of hunger. I remember in 2002 playing with the Edmonton Eskimos. In front of our hometown fans, losing the Grey Cup to the Montreal Alouettes. The next year, we had a rough start, but we were driven. It didn't matter. We had the guys in the locker room, the team, to get back, and we knew that if we got back, our resolve was so solid. And we were galvanized to win that cup, and we did. We went back into Regina.
A loss affects everything. A loss affects you right from green garbage bag day to the drive back to your apartment, to the drive back to your hometown. I mean, you just feel it, right?
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what, it's a lot harder. And the greats can do it. Tom Brady could win back-to-back, but not everybody's cut out to win with that kind of pressure against that kind of a motivated team. So yeah, we're going to see.
Well, to bring it back to the beginning, I mean, you're right. You lose, you got motivation to come back. You think, they're going to win. But look at the Buffalo Bills. We just talked about them. 4 in a row. 4 Super Bowls in a row where they had that same feeling the Oilers had last year, and they got back against different opponents sometimes and still couldn't pull it off. So I'm hoping for an Oilers win. You're hoping for an Oilers win. Trey is. Most of Canada is, except for maybe diehard Calgary fans, but it's going to be a great series. If anything, I think it's going to be a beat-em-up series. I think it's 2 teams that are leaving everything out on the ice, and I'm excited for this one. I didn't think we'd get here, but I swear, I don't think I've ever been more excited for a final, because how often do you see a rematch in the NHL? We used to see it with Colorado and Detroit in the Western Finals, and those were bang them up, knock them out. What are they? Jim Ross from WE, slobber knockers. I think there's going to be a slobber knocker. Yeah. Well, this show's a slobber knocker, and it's brought to you each week by Performance Freight Management, We Drone Real Estate Media, and YYC Business. You can find us on all our socials at Chevy and Nasty, and like, subscribe, share, tell a friend. You know what? If you have a local business that wants a little boost and wants to get behind a nice startup podcast that's looking to grow and spread its wings, come on board the ride. Let's see where it can take us. Guys, we're going to take a quick break. Lots to talk about on the flip side of this one. We said it, CFL starting. We might as well get into it. See you in a bit.
Performance Freight Management is a global logistic freight shipping company that will handle the entire shipping process for any package to any country. Whether it be a simple truck shipment from your office to Toronto or your company importing generators from China, PFM Freight handles it all. We have the expertise and technology to handle any shipping requirements. Skip the guesswork and let us take the shipping pain off your plate.
Do you want your business to be known? YYCCalgaryBusiness.ca is Calgary's only online media platform that gets you noticed. Short-form video content is rapidly taking over as the most effective way to engage your audience. Whether you're being interviewed on a vodcast, sharing a sizzle reel, or even hosting your own show, there is one place you can publicize your business. We want to tell your story and introduce you to our network of empowered business owners and leaders right here in Calgary. Isn't it time you took your digital game to 11? Call us or email us now.
All right, welcome back to the ride with Chevy and Nasty. I'm Randy Chevrier, and this is Sheldon Napashtuk. I am Chevy. He's Nasty. Guys, listen, before we get into the CFL stuff, I just got an implored text to plug an event that's coming up in a couple of weeks on the 13th, Friday the 13th, at I believe it starts at 11 a.m. The Calgary Firefighters Burn Treatment Society, which is a charity that I volunteer for, we are hosting our second annual truck pull on Stephen Avenue. And last year was the first year. It was a fantastic, beautiful day. In June, you register in teams of 10. There are prizes. I believe our good friend Kevin Smith from a Brothers Path entered a team last year and they won. I know there's some pretty fantastic prizes. One of the prizes, the winning team is going to get a watch. Each teammate is going to get a watch from J-Ver Jewelers. So really nice prize. And you register a team at cfbts.org. And yeah, come out and join us. We have 20 teams registered. We'd like a few more. We're sponsored by Social Beer House. And again, all the proceeds from this charity event are going to the Calgary Firefighters Burn Treatment Society, which in turn we support the burn unit at the Foothills, burn unit at the Children's Hospital, and a lot of research into burn treatment. So I think I got a video that maybe I'll pop to Trey after. We could play it after. But yeah, if you want to enter a team, guys, it's going to be fun. But what is fun and what I'm looking forward to, Sheldon, is the start of the CFL season. And, we've waited a long time for this. Are you excited for this year? Because I feel like this year things are getting back to normal. We had a couple of years coming out of COVID where, the league wasn't really solid with quarterbacks. There were some teams still trying to figure out what's going on. I think even the Calgary Stampeders suffered from a COVID hangover for a couple of years, but it looks like this year the West is back to being the West, but the East is a beast as well. Where do you want to go with this?
I don't know. Where do you want to? Well, let's start off by plugging this, Chev, if I may. Last year we had our Chevy and Nasty pick'em where we went at it. I think we ended the regular season tied, made it all the way to the Grey Cup, where Chevy accuses me of snafooing him and taking his pick at the last moment. But in fairness to me, he did let me go first, and I did make the hero call of the Toronto Argonauts to win it all last year. But this year we're going to do it a little bit bigger. Chev, tell them what you guys set up, because I think you've got control of this league here.
Yeah. So listen, guys, if you're listening live now, or you're listening on Spotify tomorrow, watching this, we want you to join our Chevy and Nasty CFL Weekly Pick'em. And for that, you got to go to the website. I think Trey's going to put it up here. I'm just going to call it up myself. You go to the website. It is the CFL Game Zone. Is that it? And it's the CFL Pick'em, and it's the one hosted by Old Dutch, because they've got a couple of games there. There's a fantasy one. There's some preseason thing, but the one you want is the one where you just pick the winners each week, and at the bottom you pick a score for a tiebreaker, and it basically you calculate the total. You say what you think the total score will be of the final game, and then That's your tiebreaker in case you tie with someone else. We're going to get everyone to register. So the crazy thing is there's supposed to be a code. Trey's going to put it up on the link there, but I can't seem to make it work. You first have to go register a profile on the CFL Game Zone site. You register a profile, and then you, as Trey had there, once your profile's up, you search for leagues, and you go to the Chevy and Nasty CFL Pick'em, and that's supposed to be the code. So when you look for leagues, you put this code in there, and you're supposed to get it. Now, the backup plan is this. If you guys throw your emails into the chat here, if you want to join our weekly pick and pool, Trey's going to collect them all. He's going to send them to me, and I'll send you each a direct email invite. But you got to register a profile and then join our league. It's going to be fun. We're going to post the leaderboard each week. We're going to suspend people who don't put their picks in time. Maybe after 1 or 2 text reminders. But the games start on Thursday. By Saturday, they're usually done. You got to get your picks in before kickoff. So you got to get your picks in, and we'd love for you to join us. We have 7 members now. Jamin's in. We got Sheldon. We got, and there might be even some CFL guys show up. I'm going to start blasting this out tomorrow night to anyone in my contacts, and we'd love for you guys to do the same. So join us.
We're thinking big prizes this year too. Big prizes. So what do you got for us for prizes this year, Chev?
I would say like a family-sized bag of Old Dutch.
Yeah, with dip. Can we get a sponsor for some dip?
Yeah, maybe Old Dutch.
Chips and dip is like the ultimate Grey Cup special. So
yeah, no, we want you guys to join. Let's have some skin in the game when it comes to watching CFL. Even if you're not the biggest fan, the minute you have bragging, even just bragging rights. I do it in my NFL pool in the winter. I never used to do pools, but just to say, hey, I won this week. Join our pool. There it is, the CFL Pick and Pool. Remember, it's the Chevy and Nasty CFL Pick'em.
And honestly, Chev, it's pretty easy to find. When you were just telling me about it, I went online and was able to find it right away. So even if the code doesn't work, don't worry about it. Just look for Chevy and Nasty. There is only one Chevy and Nasty league, and go ahead, join us. It should be fun.
Okay, so let's get to the game, because this week we're going to have to pick some winners. We're going to have to look at it. Let's not talk about the individual games just yet. Let's just talk about the season. Like, for me, when I looked at this season for the last couple of years, between all the turmoil in Edmonton, the changes in Calgary, the quarterback change that didn't work, BC losing Nathan Rourke for a minute and then him showing up, Saskatchewan went through some changes, head coaching changes and stuff. The only consistent team was Winnipeg in the West, and you knew they were coming out on top. But this year, I can't just hand it to Winnipeg to start the season. There's a lot of strong contenders, and even the sleepers like the Stampeders could show up at the end. So I'm really excited to see how it plays out in the West.
And that's I'm glad you brought that up, because I think this was the offseason of the quarterback exchange. I mean, they got redistributed. Some teams got better. Some teams stayed the same. But for me, I'm watching Winnipeg, who's been to the last 4 Grey Cups. And what were the big moves they made this year? Kenny Lawler and Drew Wolodarski both leave their receiver lineup. Two of the top receivers in the league that you would have been absolute staples to re-sign to keep that offense together. But what makes it even more dramatic for me, because players come and go, they both went to your Hamilton Tiger Cats. Is this what Bo Levi Mitchell has needed? Because he put up some big numbers last year, but they couldn't find a way to win. Now they've got 2 receivers from a receiving staff that have been to the Grey Cup 4 straight years. How much is this going to add to the Hamilton Tiger Cats? Are they going to be the surprise team coming out of the East this year?
Yeah, for me, they're my favorite. That I'm a big believer, and I've said that at some point that fire is going to reignite in Bo. And we saw it last year. I mean, he was the outstanding player in the CFL. And he kind of snuck up on everyone. And I think he's going to build on that momentum. And they've added some nice pieces in Hamilton. I might have said Winnipeg. They've added some nice pieces in Hamilton. And right now, where he's at, I believe he's in a stable position. I believe Montreal, they moved on from Cody Fajardo. Are they set at quarterback where they need to be? Maybe they feel that way. That's why they moved on. But then you look at Toronto. They're a 2-headed monster, but they still got to figure out, is Nick Arbuckle their starting quarterback? Is Chad Kelly their starting quarterback? I saw some news today, some rumblings that maybe Nick Arbuckle's starting, and they lost a lot of players. Like, they went way over the salary cap last year and they had to make a big dump. Are they going to be the same? I don't know. I really feel like I don't think the East is as strong as the West, but I certainly think that the Hamilton Tiger Cats are one of the strongest teams in the league. So I'm excited to see a potential resurgence of Bo Levi Mitchell. And we're going to see it front and center this weekend on June 7th at McMahon Stadium, 5 p.m., when the Hamilton Tiger Cats take on the Calgary Stampeders. And I thought last year Bo Levi played in Calgary. I feel like I watched him throw the ball, but someone said this is Bo's first time back playing in Calgary. And I don't believe that, but maybe it is. But you're going to see a new Calgary quarterback on the sidelines this time. It's not Bo playing against Jake. It's Bo playing against Vernon Adams. And I like this matchup. I like this matchup for both teams. It's going to be a tight one. I think Vernon Adams has a lot to prove, and he's got a lot of expectations on his shoulder. But I think Bo's going to come in town slinging it. So that's going to be a fun match to watch on Saturday. So CFL kickoff, some great matches. Well, I'm not making picks publicly now. I'm not going to let you snipe my picks. So this is what I'm going to do. I've already put my picks in the pool. I've already got my picks in the pool, and next week we'll know who's up and who's down. We just won't waste time on the picks. Any games, like, of the games that you're excited to watch? For me, the marquee matchup this week is Hamilton Calgary, but then there's that Toronto Montreal matchup that's a rematch of last year's Eastern semifinal. Those are the big ones for me. The other two, Edmonton and BC, Sask, Ottawa, meh. I think Sask is going to take that one. I think BC, Edmonton, but Trey, go ahead.
Well, for me, actually, the Eskies versus the Elks versus the Lions is a big one for me. Tell me. One of the questions that Trey threw up there earlier is, who's the first starting quarterback to get yanked this year? And it's going to be the Canadian. So there's a lot riding on Trey Ford right now with the Elk, especially with Fajardo as a backup. The guy who's just coming off 2 years ago, a Grey Cup championship, looks solid last season. With a way more pedigree than Trey Ford has. So it's going to be interesting to see what Trey Ford learned going into camp as a starter, playing through the preseason. Is he going to be able to come out of the gates running and gunning? That one intrigues me because I don't know that he can. I don't know that he can't, but I'm really intrigued to see if he could take that next step. Meanwhile,
but Trey, I was just gonna say, Trey hates when we talk about Trey Ford in that negative light, and it's not because we want him to fail.
Trey Ford.
Trey thinks I hate him. It's not that I hate him. I just know the way the system is designed to not appreciate a Canadian trained quarterback. A Canadian trained quarterback in a Canadian school is not going to be given the same leash as a guy that went to a U.S. school. So therefore, I think you were just going to Nathan Rourke. He's the man in BC. He's got the biggest contract in the CFL. Trey Ford is not the man in the CFL, and he's going to constantly be looking over his shoulder. And I think that might not bode well for the young man.
Yeah. But my questions about Nathan Rourke is a lot of questions were raised last year, right? Yeah. He comes back, signs the big contract. Perfect timing, right? As Vernon Adams is injured, he goes in and he stunk it up. And the big question was, has he lost it? Does he got that NFL curse? He spent too long in the NFL and completely lost his touch for the game. But I said last year, right from the start when he came in, he needed an offseason to re-wrap his head around CFL, a lot of time in film, unlearn what he learned down south, and then a training camp under his belt.
And the team.
It's going to be a big tell to me. I expect Nathan Rourke to come out blazing. I expect him to be super sharp, and anything less than that, I might have a couple of questions.
Yeah, and Sheldon, you said it. Like, not only does he have to reacclimatize himself to the CFL, the team around him, whether there's new receivers or not, everyone's got to acclimatize themselves to his style of play. I saw it happen in 2004 into 2005 when Ricky Ray returned to Edmonton and they traded Jason Moss to Hamilton. Jason Moss got the Edmonton Eskimos to the Western Final, but then Ricky Ray came back the next year and he got him to the Grey Cup. So maybe this is a similar situation for BC. We'll see. They got rid of a lot of weapons. And, it's hard to get rid of a quarterback that's as effective as Vernon Adams, but Calgary sure is lucky. So, if there's anything, I'm really happy that the CFL season is starting. I think we should give a little shout out to, we had him on our show. We should have him again. Last year, 2 years ago, we had a little debate. You remember you pulled on your referee shirt and we had Michael Ball at the time, the voice of the Rough Riders, very outspoken riders, commentator, booster. Since then, he's a homer. Since then, he had been relieved of his duties and he's got his own podcast, but he's still we went at it, but we made peace. But I want to give a shout out to Michael Ball because when we talked to him a couple of years ago, his son was playing at North Dakota. He had gotten injured. I think after that, he transferred to UFC. Ethan Ball got drafted this spring by the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, and he just recently made the team as a Winnipeg Blue Bomber. So I think that's a really fantastic story. It's something interesting to watch. How can a guy that cheered so hard his entire life for the Lions, like who he's got to cheer. It's almost like they did it on purpose to draft his son. I got to ask Michael how we got to get him on to talk about this at some point.
That's awesome because he was such a homer. He would not entertain looking at the other side. There's no way you could be an NFL guy if you're a CFL guy. How can you be a Riders guy when your son's starting for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers? I'm not saying he's starting yet, but that's
still
your
playing.
son. That's gonna be awesome.
That's gonna be interesting.
Karma. That's almost karma coming back. I would love to hear his take on that. Get him on the show.
Yeah, we'll get him on the show at some point. Sheldon, always stuff to talk about. We leave things in, leave things out. But I think the good segue is this. I was on Facebook Marketplace the other day, and I was looking to sell some rims. And when I pulled up Facebook Marketplace, I saw a Grey Cup ring there. I saw a 2001 Calgary Stampeders Grey Cup ring. Oh, there it is. You found the ad. Because I screenshotted it. Because it's no longer there today. So either it's sold or someone pulled it down. But an authentic 2001 Calgary Stampeders Grey Cup ring listed for $12,000. Now, they don't say the player, but right in that moment, I thought, and I've heard of this before, but I thought, the description mentioned that the player was a former NFLer, but starting for the Stampeders in the Grey Cup, blah, 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 blah. And then, it didn't really say much more, but I thought, this guy was a contributing member to the team and their success. Now, I've heard of guys that played on the practice squad selling their Grey Cup rings because they didn't feel like they were part of the team. I've heard of guys that were injured all season that got a ring just because they were there. Didn't feel like they were part of the team. But if you had a Grey Cup ring or a championship of any kind or a championship belt or a buckle, Daryl, as a rodeo athlete, could you ever see yourself selling it? And go ahead.
First off, nobody's sitting there saying, well, I didn't play that big a part, so I'll just sell it. Right. At very least, it's something that goes up on the wall. There's something more going on than that. In fact, I think over history, there's probably been very few championship rings sold for anything other than financial distress, and that's sad, right?
Yeah, but I'm going to debate you on this because I was in the locker room with a couple of guys that talked about early on in their career. They were a rookie. They come from the NFL, especially not Canadian guys. I don't think you'll ever see a Canadian guy that was on a team get a Grey Cup ring, but an American guy that came up midway through the season after NFL cuts, winds up being on a practice squad with a team that wins a Grey Cup. And he was sitting playing PlayStation all day and never really getting any reps, making $500 a week, living in the Motel Village. I've heard guys in those situations say, yeah, you know what? I can make $12,000. Like, remember, they're making $500 a week, but then have come back and won somewhere else. And maybe it was more special to them. But yeah, I've thought about my own situation. Like, I'm not going to lie to you. Like, you switch careers, you go through divorce, you're splitting half your assets, you're paying child support out the wazoo. And, the first couple of years there, I'm not going to lie to you guys. Like, I used to have to buy my meat in the clearance bin at Walmart to make sure that when my kids came over, I had some protein for them, because buying anything full price was almost too expensive. And that's not the lowest of the low, but I felt like it was pretty low. And there were times I was like, man, I never really considered it, but I thought, you know what? I'm sitting on these three things that right now don't provide me any value. No one's going to care about me or them after I'm gone. But while I'm here, I got to make ends meet. And I never really considered selling because I was like, listen, I know what I can do. I can work harder at the things I do a little bit more extra and just tough it out. And, I did what I did. I switched careers within the fire department to put myself in a situation where I had a better custody situation with my kids. My financial situation was better. And I'm so far removed from that. But imagine a guy, and we know a lot of guys that we played with that, they don't even have a home. Some guys sleeping in their car. I could see it happening. I could definitely see it happening.
Yeah, I think it's a lot more likely that like the financial distress, and I think it's got to get pretty bad before you consider selling it. Like, but I look up on your trophy case and I see the game balls. I had tons of game balls. In fact,
yeah,
for 1 year, instead of game balls, they were giving out Coach. Oh, it's awful. Our offensive coordinator. He used to do pottery.
Oh, the mugs. Yes, Coach Steve Barato. You're using the
Steve Barato.
mug right there.
I got two of his mugs that season. Had a bunch of balls. Most of my game balls ended up getting wrecked by the kids playing catch up. Like I'm not sentimental like that. But a championship ring is something I think you'd have to be. And those are things I gave up because, well, who cares? It was a game ball. Like I had lots of those. It's just a thing. A ring is something different though, because you look at that, it brings back a lot more memories.
Bruno says, if I ever sell my Grey Cup rings, Mo from the Good Deal Tire Shop is gonna buy. Mo's a great guy from Good Deal. He switched out my tires yesterday, and I went to meet Bruno because right by Bruno's office, and I had my Grey Cup rings, and I let him try them on, and he was super impressed. But yeah, we've seen things like that, guys get in distress, and it's pretty sad. There's some guys that will do everything to keep their rings after they get stolen, and then there's some guys that unfortunately have had to sell them. It's a sad situation when that's out of desperation. Like I said, I can empathize because I know people. You get in a conversation with sports fans, they're like, "No, you never sell your ring. You never." And it's like,
oh, you can't eat a ring. And let's not pretend that this is the NFL. And even NFL guys have fallen on hard times. You can't eat your rings. Hopefully it goes to a better cause. In most cases, though, the reason you say it's sad, Chef, because in most cases, it is not the one investment you make selling it that's going to spark your life moving forward. It's typically a sign that you're in trouble.
Yeah, but there are some guys that have sold rings for good reasons. I think Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, he sold his rings to start an education fund, and Peter Pocklington sold his rings in the form of Wayne Gretzky.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome.
There's many reasons who sell athletes sell their stuff. I think OJ, he had a rough run and he had to sell all his stuff. I think he even actually beat some people up to get his stuff back.
To get it back. Some of it he didn't sell. Some of they just looted. Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, no, like I saw that. I was surprised. I thought that would be a good topic to talk about because whenever you see that, it's a little bit like, oh geez, that's a real ring. And when I yesterday I gave a talk to the Mortgage Brokers of Alberta conference, and I was wearing my rings, and people are just so impressed by those things, and it's such a spectacle. And I always take them off, let people try them out. I don't care. But yeah, so maybe for those of us who've kind of lived in that world, it's like, yeah, it's a ring, like you said. But for some people, it's like, no, there's no way you win one of those, you'll never sell it. But yeah, I don't know. I always wish that I got a championship belt. Like if I was the owner of a NFL team and I had that kind of money, if we're winning a championship, I'm getting something that you can display over your mantle. And it's going to be something similar to the John Cena championship belt with the spinner. Like it's going to be ridiculous. It's not going to be something that, even though the gaudy ones that sit on your finger are big, it's going to be a belt. Like if I won a Grey Cup and I got a belt, it's going to be sitting right behind me for the podcast. Like when you wore the belt you wore at the Hitman's bar when we did the Grey Cup episode. Wasn't that awesome? Just to wear his belt.
Real belt. It was the real belt.
Man. Real Kurt Panio would be all over a CFL championship, but maybe Sheldon for the CFL Chevy and Nasty pick and pull. Maybe we get a belt. Maybe we get a belt. Dude. Maybe we get performance freight management.
We might be giving up that belt to a listener, Chef.
I know.
I guess we got to win. Best man wins.
Best man wins. We give it, but you know what? It's not a keeping belt. It's a return it next year belt. You got to return to defend your title. just like the Toronto Argonauts, just like the Florida Panthers. You have to defend your title.
So
'Cause
what
we're coming
Chevy's
for-
saying is we will be scouring Facebook Marketplace weekly to make sure that any of you MFers that won the belt is not trying to sell it off on Facebook. Yeah, 100%.
We're coming after
We know
you.
who
We
you are.
We know who you are, and you know who we are. We're Chevy and Nasty every Tuesday night, 10:30 to 11:30 p.m. Performance Freight Management, We Drone Real Estate Media, and YYC Business, who are all going to chip in for our championship belt. Also, you can follow us at Chevy and Nasty, all our socials. We put on the reels after the show. We interact with our fans, who's you guys, and you can download the podcast on Spotify, Apple Music, and iTunes. Listen, let's take a break. We'll come back. We'll wrap this thing up in style. We got studs and duds, and I don't know what else we're going to talk about, but we'll take it home. See you in a minute.
Performance Freight Management is a global logistic freight shipping company that will handle the entire shipping process for any package to any country. Whether it be a simple truck shipment from your office to Toronto or your company importing generators from China, PFM Freight handles it all. We have the expertise and technology to handle any shipping requirements. Skip the guesswork and let us take the shipping pain off your plate.
Do you want your business to be known? YYCCalgaryBusiness.ca is Calgary's only online media platform that gets you noticed. Short-form video content is rapidly taking over as the most effective way to engage your audience. Whether you're being interviewed on a vodcast, sharing a sizzle reel, or even hosting your own show, there is one place you can publicize your business. We want to tell your story and introduce you to our network of empowered business owners and leaders right here in Calgary. Isn't it time you took your digital game to 11? Call us or email us now.
Welcome back to the ride with Chevy and Nasty. I'm texting Sheldon as he's looking at me.
Texting you.
Guys, it's a great show. It's always fun. You know what? I was low energy at the beginning, and it was a slow build. And once in a while, that's how it goes, right? We pick each other up. We have fun. We talk some NHL. We talked a little NFL. We talked some CFL. What else is going on, Sheldon? Where do you want to hit? Where do you want to go before we close this thing out? Anything going on, or you want to go straight?
Why don't we just jump into our studs and duds, Chevy?
Yeah, let's do it. Studs and duds.
Studs and duds.
Also, I'll start this one off. So last week it was time to replace my drone, and I was going off to this big fancy twilight drone shoot we're doing out on Mackenzie Lake. And I'm like, hey, my company's We Drone. I know everything about drones, so I picked it up, charged it, took it down, did a couple of things at home. I got there, Chev, and it would not take off. I needed one more update before it could fly. Now, any of you guys that are in business or in trades, you know you should never show up to a job without the proper tools and without testing them first. But I made that classic mistake, and I could not get it to connect to the Wi-Fi on my phone. You know, Chev, one of the themes we've talked about over the last couple of seasons here, couple of years, is just the advent of AI and how we can use it. The 20-year-old videographer I was working with said, Sheldon, dude, it's simple. Just AI it. What? Just ask it how I can get this thing hooked up to my Wi-Fi because it's still trying to connect with my Wi-Fi at home. He goes, yeah, just ask AI. Dude, I entered a prompt and it gave me like 6 steps instructions. Simple thing I missed to back out of the app and to go into a different section of it. I had it fixed within 5 minutes. Dude, no AI is not Google. It is probably one of the most advanced things for getting you out of a hole that you dig yourself ever. Later that week, I use it to do all my social media profiles, like on my Instagram and Facebook for my business. It taught me how to do carousels properly. Dude, AI is really making things easier. It saved my ass on Friday night.
I'm going to be a smart ass here. Is it going to build us a website?
Yeah, it can.
No, it's going to be prompted to build this website.
No, I'm building confidence with this, Chef. Give me some time. We'll figure this out. You haven't even used the email that I set up for you.
We're gonna have the best website in the world. I like AI too. Definitely, it's been a tool when you're like 4-man operation here. Chevy, Nasty, Trey, and Daryl.
Need all the help
we wear a lot of hats. We wear a lot of hats, and the AI helps. One of the ones that helps me with a lot of the social media stuff. It really streamlines the process. I can type what I want to type. I got some ideas, and then streamlines the process. And those fancy songs that you hear each week are based off the poems that we write. We take the poems, we run them through the AI, and we get country music, rock music, rap music. And this week was a little country, and that's courtesy of DJ Daryl. DJ Daryl Fresh. My stud this week, Sheldon. I've been having a hard time on Netflix and streaming services finding something that engages me. I've been watching shows, and especially, my girlfriend, she lives an hour away. If we start a series and we miss a show, oh, Trey, you spoiled it. Gosh, work out the timing, Trey. I was building it up. We try and get into series, but we fall asleep. And then the next week we're like, whatever. And movies, we fall asleep because they're too long. Anyhow, this weekend we happened upon American Manhunt for Osama bin Laden. And we watched it on Saturday morning, I believe, at 6 a.m. We just happened to be up early because of the dog. And we had our coffee. We're like, let's just watch something. Dude, 3-part episode, documentary style, probably one of the best things I've seen on Netflix in a long time. Really? This thing had me hooked. First of all, I'm a 9/11 geek. If I'm a geek about comic book stuff, I'm a geek about sports. I'm a geek about 9/11, and mainly because I lived in the U.S. I was playing in the NFL during that time, and it was a very, very important moment in American history, and I felt like I was on that boat. I didn't have a choice, but you couldn't help but feel the ripple effect of 9/11 throughout America. So I'm very deeply touched whenever it's 9/11, whenever something comes. Part of the reason I'm a firefighter, there's a lot of connection. So they start with that, and then they just go into how the manhunt began. And guys, I'm telling you, if you want to watch a show that keeps you captivated for I believe it's almost 3 hours because it's over 3 episodes, this is it. Every one of us, except for maybe Trey, you might have been young when the Twin Towers got knocked down. Were you born, Trey?
I don't think he's born.
No, he wasn't born. But such a significant show, and there's things that I liked about it. The things that I loved about it, it wasn't reporters talking about it. It wasn't like the unknown soldiers or just some dude that was in Afghanistan. It was literally the deputy director of the CIA talking. It was literally the guy that directed all the Navy SEAL teams on the ground in Afghanistan. It was literally the guy who shot Osama bin Laden. Everyone in there that was speaking was so pivotal. The only people that were missing were literally President George Bush and President Obama. That was the only people that missing that could have added anything more to it that would have been like, whoa, they got them.
The CIA.
Oh, so good.
Did they get the CIA guy that was who came up with the waterboarding plan and program and all that stuff from Zero Dark 30?
They talked a lot about that, and they talked a lot about how some of the people were like, listen, it doesn't work. Some of the analysts were like, it doesn't. There were so many really cool inside tidbits. Again, I don't want to spoil it all, but they were sitting at the table, and it's George Bush. It's right after 9/11, and George Bush got Donald Rumsfeld. He's got Dick Cheney. He's got his whole gang, his whole mafia right on the table, and they're trying to figure out what to do. And, Dick Cheney's like, I can get a full battalion there ready in 6 months, trained up, ready to go. And he looks, and then there was a CIA guy. I don't know what his name was. Again, I don't remember the names, but he's not at the table. He's sitting on a couch in the corner. He doesn't have a seat at the table, but I guess this guy didn't feel like he couldn't speak up. He speaks up. He says, sir, he says, I could get flies on eyeballs in 6 weeks. And I was like, whoa. And George Bush says, you're in charge.
Yeah.
And this guy, basically not a battalion, it was civilian CIA spies that went there, and it was like teams of 6 or 7. And if they lived for 2 weeks, then they would bring in the SEAL teams. Just nuts, absolutely nuts. And I'm telling you,
what's the name of the series again? That's American Manhunt.
American Manhunt, Osama bin Laden.
Oh,
You're gonna watch it.
That's my kind of thing, dude. I'm watching that next weekend.
It's gonna be like a bag of chips that you just finish it before you know it, and you're like, holy crap, I ate the whole thing. So good. A lot of time I spent on my stud. Sheldon, let's go to the duds. Who's your dud?
My dud. It's going to take us back to the matchup against the Florida Panthers. There's ways to go out in epic style, shot down in a blaze of glory, and then there's the ways that Zach Hyman went down. The leader, the physical inspiration leader for the Edmonton Oilers, 111 hits, leading the playoff series, an absolute inspiration. And there's this weird little flyby with Mason Marchment. That's probably the first time you'd heard his name the whole series, was that hit right there. He was just ineffective the whole series, and just a sloppy little clumsy flyby. And I don't know if it was his wrist, if it tore a rotator cuff, but Zach Hyman has had surgery, and he's out for the playoffs on a meaningless flyby from a little man named Mason Marchment. Mason Marchment's my dud. Dude, probably just skating off to get off for the next shift.
Now Hyman scored a couple of big goals in one of the games, but for the most part, he had been quiet except for the hits.
But that's
how bad. Yeah, no, I agree. I'm going to say, how badly does this affect the Oilers' chances against Florida?
It absolutely has a big impact, because if you look at what the Panthers are able to do with Tkachuk and with Bennett, is to get under your skin, just keep driving you, keep hitting you. Their whole thing is, we're not the fastest team. We're fast enough, but you're not going to be fast by the end of the series either. And you need guys like that. You need a hot goaltender, and you need guys willing to block pucks with their face and take every guy to the wall. And that's what we've just got to make sure that the Oilers have going into this. They lost a big piece in Hyman.
Yeah, they definitely did. I would agree with that. My dud, unfortunately, this is a story that hits a little close to home. Just coming out, I believe it's 2000 and coming out of COVID, first season out of COVID. This boy here that you see, Jal, he was young grade 10 student at St. Francis. He was on our St. Francis junior boys football team. He played with my son Luke. I coached him. Great kid, super tall kid, two-sport athlete. Loved basketball more than he loved football, but he was great at both. And just a really, he's one of those real funny kids that, school wasn't his priority, and he had a funny way of making you feel that was okay. But yeah, just a great presence. But he was shot and murdered a couple years back up in Crowfoot, not far from me. And I guess they arrested the teen who did it, and the judge is going to be passing some judgment soon. But yeah, it's pretty sad, because the details were sketchy. But after all the forensics and all that came out, the teen who can't be identified, pleaded or stated that he was kind of defending himself, that Jal attacked him, and that the gun went off and shot him. Well, after all the forensics and everything that was, studied and said and done, it turns out that the gun was pressed against the back of Jal's skull when the trigger was pulled, and he was executed, execution style, right? And it's a Calgary teen. So it's a dud because it's sad all around. Here we have a kid, and if you read into it, he bought a gun to impress some kids in a Snapchat group. He brought it to meet with this boy, Jal. Something happened, and next thing you know, we've got a really shining young kid, nice kid, murdered, and another kid that's going to be paying for that for the rest of his life.
No,
well, maybe not the rest of his life, because we are soft.
The sad thing here is an innocent kid got killed.
Yeah, 100%.
It's not sad about the other kid. That's evil. That's a lack of something going on in that person's life to execute an innocent person. And Chevy, he will be back on the street by his 21st birthday.
Oh, for sure. And that's going to be my dud again when he comes out, because we are definitely soft that way.
You got to be fired up with your dud.
Yeah, it sucks. It sucks because, again, for me, very, very close to me. It's not like I read about it in the newspaper. I remember I was sitting at home. I was working from home because we were still working from home. And I got the news, and it was funny because when it had happened, right after it had happened, we did his memorial and all that. There had been a string of shootings from that day forward. And I used to listen to the news on the TV behind me every morning when I would work in my kitchen. Every day from that point for a period of about a year and a half, there had been shootings in Calgary. And it just struck like that was almost felt like the domino. And it's sad. So that's my dud. That's my dud because it brought up a lot of emotions when my buddy sent me that article today. I wasn't close with the kid, but when you coach a kid and you find out that he gets executed,
any kid in your neighborhood that you've been a part of their life, that's a big story. And that one was still pointless.
And he's in your son's life and you don't know how your kid's processing it and you're just trying to figure it out. It was sad. I remember the memorial was sad. So that's my dud. Can we find a way to lighten this thing up? Because I know that's a pretty heavy one to end on. There's a lot of good things happening in the world.
Just a reminder that we are Chevy and Nasty are starting our first pick'em league in the CFL. So once again, guys, look it up. Come join us. Chevy's going to buy you a big bag of chips unless we can get somebody to come up with a better prize for us. Like that championship belt does sound good.
Yeah. So again, but Trey, that code, that's the code for when you're at the league. What's the website? We need the website. We need to put the website on there so people can copy and paste it into their browser. What is it? The CFL Game Zone, I believe it is. Is that what it is? I'm going to type it on my iPad here. CFL Game Zone. Let's get it on there so people know what to do. You go to CFL Game Zone. There you go. Now we're talking, Trey.
There we go. Yeah, that's it right there.
So now you put that in your browser, you register a profile, then you search for leagues, you join a league, and when you put that code in, when you search for leagues, Chevy and Nasty League should go up. I already put my picks in. I'm already excited for kickoff on Thursday night. I'm excited for the hockey game tomorrow night. I turned 49 on Friday. So I'm excited for that too. I'm going Red Deer on Saturday. I'm excited for that too. Lots of stuff to be excited about, but it's going to be a great next couple of days for sports, like Friday night football. Oh, I can't wait. I really can't. Actually, Friday night's going to be Oilers and Friday night football. It's going to be a big night for sports. That's going to be a big night.
Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I'm watching them all, buddy.
Yeah. Are you going to the game on Saturday? Are you going to be there? I'm not in town.
No, I'm planning to head out to the lake to get the trailer started up, but I'll be watching the games from my phone out there.
Okay. Anything else going on before we say goodbye? I know we can wrap it up right now. We're at about an hour and 12 minutes. We usually hit an hour 15. Anything, Trey, you got something for us that you need to get off your chest? Last week we had to walk you off the cliff from your golf snafu. Are you back? Like, where are you, Trey?
Yeah. So on Monday next week, I have another tournament at the Glencoe.
Nice.
So yeah. Glencoe is like a pretty private club in Calgary, and I've never played before. And me and Reagan and a couple other buddies of ours are going to go play it, and should be fun. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it, and hopefully it goes. I can use your advice to make the round go a little bit better this time around.
Well, first of all, don't sign the scorecard until you verified the scores. That's my first.
Yeah,
that's my first.
And don't be scorekeeping throughout the round, buddy. Stay focused. One hole after another, one stroke after another. Stay focused on the prize. It does not matter what anybody else is doing. It only matters what you can control, and that's your next swing.
Yep.
Yeah. I will. I'll take it to heart for sure. I'll try to think about it more cautiously for sure.
Yeah. Well, we appreciate you coming on and sharing. Good luck for that. What game are you excited for this weekend in CFL action? Like, I know you're a Riders fan, but
yeah, I'm a Riders fan. So, but
Riders.
Good night, Ernie.
Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, does Riders Ottawa turn your crank as much as any of the other games?
Yeah. I think the Riders are definitely going to be probably the only game I end up watching this weekend.
Okay.
We'll see. I'm pretty busy with work, and so maybe I'll be able to throw it on the TV a little bit and watch a little bit. But I think Edmonton, BC. I'm looking forward to watching Trey Ford play. Obviously, Rourke too. And I think the pitch.
You know what's sad? I'm going to say this. I'm going to say this
tiebreaker game for sure.
Let me say this before I sign off. You know what's sad is last year Trey was like, just attacking me. No, Trey, you can stay on. Yeah, just attacking me every time I mentioned what I think Trey Ford's fate is going to be. But I've noticed the last few times in the comments, that you're the one that says he's going to be yanked by
Yeah.
I feel like we've doused your flame of hope, and I really feel bad for that. But I feel like I feel like Denzel Washington in Training Day, and I've just destroyed you.
You're not dashing his hope. You are teaching a young man the way the world works, and I think that's the responsibility of the older generation. It doesn't matter how good he is or how many people are in his corner. He is what he is, and he's a running Canadian quarterback that didn't go to a big school. And
right.
I love the guy. I want to see his career take off. And I've watched him win 5 in a row, 4 in a row, and then get yanked after a couple of picks when the starter was healthy.
Let me ask you this question. Let me ask you this question, kind of related somewhat. We got the Laurier kid, Ty Ellingsma, he signed with the Green Bay Packers. Do we see him sticking around? Did his stock in the CFL go up because now he's with the NFL? I believe so.
Yeah, for sure.
Do you think?
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. The minute he touches American soil and gets American coaching, he's no longer a Wilfrid Laurier quarterback. He's a former NFL
he was drafted. He was drafted, not signed as a free agent. He was drafted.
Free agent. I believe it was a free agent.
Yeah. But still, listen, boys, if they picked him, we'd be idiots not to, right? And that's
you know what? But you know what? The fact that I think it was actually even tougher for him to be signed as a free agent quarterback, because I mean, when you're in the draft, you're kind of they have a number on you. You kind of jostle for position, and you might just jostle out of the 7th round, and then you're a first signing. But when you're a guy like him, that he was never projected to be a draft pick, and he was always going to be a free agent. First of all, he had to sign and find a team that believed in him. Then they had to invite him to a mini camp to try out to see if he'll go to the main mini camp, and then get invited to training camp. I think his path was a lot harder than a kid that gets drafted. And for that alone, I think there's something there that we're going to have to watch out for. We're going to have to keep on top of the story for as long as it goes, right? Because he's doing something that very few Canadian quarterbacks have ever done. Has there ever been a Canadian quarterback from a Canadian school playing on an NFL team?
In all fairness, though, don't you expect to see him released from minicamp here the next couple of weeks? Like it will increase the stock, but it's a long road, especially at the quarterback position. I don't know how many free agent signings end up sticking. I think Jeff Garcia was probably one of the only non-drafted quarterbacks to have any meaningful career that I can think of. I don't know if Mark Lipkin or any of those other guys were back in the day, but it's a long journey ahead of him.
Sure is. I mean, you look at 2 Canadian quarterbacks drafted in the CFL draft this year, or 3 of them. I believe they all got released. Jonathan Senecal is the name that I remember from the Alouettes. Great quarterback at the college level for the University of Montreal. Alouettes picked him up. You think, oh, maybe the local guy. Nah, no. Scratch that. Trey Ford is in a very great position. He's obviously a great athlete. We want to see him succeed because it's so rare. We just understand that the odds may be stacked against him, and that's the hard part. But, if he gets cut from the CFL or he doesn't make it, we're still pulling for him to be our starting quarterback for Team Canada at the Olympics. I think he's still got it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, with that, guys, remind you, we got the CFL Chevy and Nasty CFL pickup. I do want to direct your attention to that Burn Treatment Society truck pull. It's a really fun event. If you got a bunch of buddies you want to get together, if you were at a men's night a few weeks ago and you got a bunch of buddies, bring them out to the truck pull. It's a really good time, fun time on the patio at Stephen Avenue. But for the rest of you, follow us each week at Chevy and Nasty on all our social medias and anywhere you listen to your podcasts. Big thanks to Performance Freight Management, We Drone Real Estate Media, and our buddy Bruno at YYC Media for sponsoring us each week and keeping the ride going. We're going to be starting to look for more sponsors. We need a website, we need some extra support, and we need a championship belt by the end of the CFL season. We absolutely need a championship belt. It's a failure if we don't have a championship belt that we present at our next live Grey Cup screen live showing of the Chevy and Nasty, the ride with Chevy and Nasty. That's where we're going to do the presentation. So if you're winning this belt, you're going to be at our show. That's the vision. That's the vision. Let's speak it into the air and let's make it a reality, boys. Just like all the good stuff we've done. Sheldon, awesome doing it with you. Trey, awesome Daryl, and everyone else who joined us. It's been a fun ride.